If you're a man over 40 and you've ever sat across the table from a younger woman, you might know this feeling. At first she's engaged, smiling, curious. But as the minutes pass, you watch something shift. Her smile tightens, her eyes glaze, she checks her phone, and you know you've already lost her attention. And no, it's not because you're older. It's not the gray in your beard or the years you've lived. It's because you came into that moment thinking your experience was enough, that your success, your stability, your stories would naturally earn her interest. But the truth is harder. What you think is an advantage can instantly become a liability if you don't know how to carry it. You see, younger women don't lose interest because you're maturer. They lose interest because you act like being maturer is enough. I know this because I've been there. I used to lead with my job title, my discipline, my calm. I thought being the reliable guy was what made me attractive. It's not. That kind of energy doesn't pull anyone in, it pushes them away. Because it doesn't create tension, it doesn't spark curiosity. It says, here's my resume, please approve of me. And that's the first shift you need to make. You are not here to audition. You are not applying for a role in her life. You're a man. You've lived through fire. You've built yourself from the ground up. And you're not here to prove that you're here to live it. So what are the things that make most older men invisible to younger women? What habits turn natural attraction into quiet rejection? There are 7 of them. 7 habits that destroy your presence, your power, and your appeal without you even realizing it. These aren't about your looks, your money, or your status. They're about how you carry yourself, how you speak, how you show up. And once you see them, you won't be able to unsee them. Because they're subtle. They hide in the way you compliment her too much, or the way you explain your age like it's a flaw, or the way you try to buy closeness when you don't know how to build connection. But here's the good news. You don't have to be younger. You don't have to change who you are. You just have to stop doing what doesn't work and start standing in what already makes you powerful. This isn't about tactics. It's about clarity. About becoming the man who doesn't need to impress because he already knows what he brings. Let's start with something small, something most men overlook, and yet it makes a difference within seconds of meeting her. Let's talk about your face. Let me be straight with you. If the first thing she notices is your watch, if your instinct is to mention what car you drive, where you vacation, or how successful your company is, you're not leading with confidence. You're leading with your wallet. And that's not attractive. That's transactional. Here's the truth. Money might get her attention, but it'll never earn her respect. You think you're showing value. What you're really showing is fear. You're telling her, I don't know if I'm interesting enough. So here's what I can buy. Here's what I can give. Please choose me. And whether you realize it or not, that mindset leaks out. It leaks out when you keep offering to pay for everything before she even knows your middle name. It leaks out when you try to impress her with restaurant names instead of eye contact. It leaks out when your generosity feels more like a bribe than a gesture. Because deep down, you're not giving because you want to. You're giving because you're afraid of what happens if you stop. But here's the thing. A woman who's drawn to your money isn't drawn to you. And a woman who's drawn to you will respect how you've earned it, but she won't expect to be bought. So stop trying to lead with the surface. Let your success speak for itself. Let it show in how you move, how you handle pressure, how you carry silence. Don't announce it, don't flash it, live it. Because the men who truly have something to offer never need to prove it. A woman who's drawn to your money isn't drawn to you. And a woman who's drawn to you will respect how you've earned it, but she won't expect to be bought. So stop trying to lead with the surface. Let your success speak for itself. Let it show in how you move, how you handle pressure, how you carry silence. Don't announce it, don't flash it, live it. Because the men who truly have something to offer never need to prove it. And while we're on the subject of proving things, let's talk about something else that gives you away when you try way too hard to look like the younger guy in the room. You know exactly what I mean. The overfitted jeans, the flashy sneakers, the forced slang in your messages. You think you're blending in. What she sees is a man who's trying to hide who he really is. And nothing kills attraction faster than pretending. Trying to look young doesn't make you younger. It just makes it obvious you're uncomfortable with your age. But here's the thing. You're not supposed to compete with the 25-year-old. You're supposed to make him irrelevant. You don't beat him by copying him. You beat him by being the thing he can't fake: presence, direction, depth. Those aren't found in TikTok trends. They're found in how you carry your past, how you speak about your future, and how unbothered you are by outside noise. A sharp haircut, a clean, well-fitting outfit that suits your age, and a calm-centered voice. That's more attractive than any trend you chase because it's real. And real always wins eventually. And if it's not your clothes that give you away, it's your words. I've seen it 100 times. The man who feels the need to list his degrees, his job title, his business milestones, all before the drinks even arrive. You're not doing it to brag. At least that's not what it feels like to you. You're doing it because deep down you think she won't see your value unless you explain it. Unless you lay it out like a case in court. Exhibit A, my resume. Exhibit B, my LinkedIn profile. Exhibit C, my condo with a view. But here's the uncomfortable truth. Every time you try to convince her of your worth, you're already admitting that you doubt it. You talk too much. Because you're afraid she'll walk away before she sees how great you are. But if you truly believed in your own presence, you wouldn't rush to prove it. You'd sit back. You'd ask questions. You'd let her speak. Because confidence isn't loud. It doesn't fill every silence with another story about that company you built or that trip you took. It listens. It connects. It waits. A woman doesn't want your resume. She wants your attention. She wants to feel like in this moment you're not performing. You're present. You're not trying to win. You're just being. You can be proud of what you've built. You should be. But don't lead with it. Let her discover it like a hidden room in a well-built home. Something real. Something lasting. Because the more you try to impress her, the more she feels like you're performing for someone who's already left the stage. And when you stop trying so hard, that's when she starts leaning in. And sometimes when you're not talking about your achievements, you're busy offering advice. Career tips, life direction, book recommendations. You should try this. Let me show you how that works. Back when I was your age. Sounds helpful, right? On paper, sure. But here's what you're actually doing. You're putting yourself above her instead of beside her. You've slipped into mentor mode, the wise advisor, the seasoned guide, the man with a map but no real chemistry. And she might smile, she might nod, she might even say, wow, that's really helpful. But deep down, she doesn't feel romance. She feels hierarchy. Respect, maybe, attraction, no. Because women don't fall for their professors. They fall for the men who spark curiosity, not lectures. You're thinking, if I show her how useful I am, how much I can teach her, she'll want to keep me around. But that's not how connection works. Romantic tension isn't built on guidance, it's built on energy, eye contact, moments that linger, a sense of fun, a feeling that she's not just learning from you, she's discovering you. So if your conversations sound more like coaching sessions, if your compliments come with correction, if your interest is hidden behind advice, you're playing it safe. Too safe. And safe rarely leads to spark. Here's the fix. Don't hide behind helpfulness. Let your interest be known. Flirt a little. Tease. Add play into the conversation, not just wisdom. Because if you don't introduce polarity, you'll drift into neutrality. And once you're seen as the guy who gives good advice, you're not coming back from that. Not as a man, not in her eyes. And while we're here, let's talk about what happens when you feel the spark. But you don't trust yourself to handle it. You meet her. She's beautiful, bright. You feel lucky just to be in the room. And without realizing it, you start putting her on a pedestal. You become overly agreeable. You avoid disagreement like it's a landmine. You compliment everything even when you don't mean it. You hide your opinions just to keep the vibe good. You think you're being respectful. But what you're really doing is surrendering. You're surrendering your edge, your truth, your presence. And she can feel it. Because a woman knows when you're nervous about losing her. She knows when you're walking on eggshells. And she knows when you see her as some kind of prize instead of an equal. When you idolize her, you disconnect from yourself. You stop expressing, you start performing. And you make her feel one thing above all board. Here's the truth, women don't want to be worshipped. They want to be met. They want to feel your gaze. Not like a fan in awe of a celebrity, but like a man who sees her fully and isn't afraid to stand his ground. You're not here to win her approval. You're not auditioning for love. You're here to see if there's a match, not beg for one. And once you understand that everything shifts, you stop second-guessing your words. You stop chasing her validation. You stop putting pressure on the moment. Because when she's no longer the only one, you show up like a man who has choices. Like a man who's grounded, calm, and fully aware that he brings just as much to the table. And trust me, that's the kind of man she'll want to stay curious about. And speaking of pressure, let's talk about the one question that makes so many men shrink. So, how old are you? You'd be surprised how many confident, successful men completely fall apart when that comes up. Their body stiffens, their voice shifts. They either mumble something awkward or try to laugh it off and change the subject. And just like that, whatever presence they had disappears. Here's why that happens. They don't actually have a problem with their age. They have a problem with how they think she sees their age. They expect judgment. They expect rejection, so they preempt it with nervous energy. And guess what? If you act like your age is something to hide, she'll treat it like something to question. But here's the truth. Your age isn't the issue. The way you carry it is. You could be 48. You could be 62. If you say it like you're proud of where you are in life, she'll feel it. And no, that doesn't mean you need to own it with fake confidence or cheesy jokes. It just means you say it clearly, calmly, and then move on. Not defensively, not apologetically, just directly. Because the moment you flinch, she starts wondering what else you're insecure about. Not just your age, but your worth. So here's what to remember. You don't need to justify your age. You don't need to over-explain it. You just need to believe that everything you've lived through makes you a better man now than you've ever been. And when you believe that, she will too. And let's be honest, it's not just how you talk about your age, it's how you look while saying it. A lot of men somewhere along the way decide that taking care of themselves is optional. They stop noticing the mirror. They wear whatever's closest. They tell themselves, I'm not trying to impress anyone anymore. But here's the truth. It's not about impressing, it's about self-respect. When you neglect your physical presence, you're sending a message to her and to yourself. You're saying, I don't care how I show up anymore. I've given up on the details. I'm tired. And no matter how sharp your mind is, how deep your soul runs, if your exterior doesn't reflect that, you've already put yourself at a disadvantage. You don't need to be a fitness model. You don't need six-pack abs or designer suits. You just need to look like you give a damn. Trim your beard. Keep your nails clean. Wear clothes that fit the man you are today, not the boy you used to be. Invest in shoes that feel like quality. Get a haircut that makes you walk a little taller. Drink water. Move your body. Sleep like it matters, because it does. Because your physical presence isn't about vanity. It's about alignment. It's the outside matching the inside. It's the way a man says without words, I value myself. I don't chase. I don't perform. I don't pretend. I simply maintain what's mine. And when she sees that, she feels something even deeper: safety, stability, strength. Not the kind you shout, the kind you show. And before we wrap this up, let me leave you with one more thing. Something simple. Something most men ignore. Your skin. I know it sounds minor, trivial even, but it's not. Because the way you treat your skin is often a reflection of how you treat yourself. It's not about vanity, it's about discipline, self-respect in the smallest form, the daily things. Most men don't lose ground because of one big failure. They lose it in 1,000 tiny ways. They stopped paying attention. They stopped caring how their face looked after a long day. Stopped noticing how they smelled when they walked in. Stopped checking the mirror before they left the house. And what they didn't realize is that every time they stopped caring for themselves, they were quietly telling the world, I don't matter as much anymore. But here's the truth, you do. You matter enough to take 2 minutes in the morning, to wash your face with something better than bar soap, to moisturize, to keep your skin clean, healthy, and firm. Not for her, for you. Because when you look in the mirror and see a man who takes care of himself, it sets the tone for everything else. You walk different. You speak different. You show up aligned. And that energy, it doesn't need to say a word. She can feel it. So no, skincare isn't just for women, it's for warriors. Men who show up ready from the inside out. And that's the point of everything we've just covered. This isn't about chasing younger women. It's about becoming the kind of man they naturally gravitate toward. Because you lead yourself first. Confidence isn't in your clothes, it's in your choices. Attraction isn't in what you say, it's in how you live. You don't need to fake youth. You need to own your edge. You don't need to prove anything. You just need to stop hiding. Fix the habits. Sharpen the presence. And watch how the world starts treating you. Exactly how you've started treating yourself.